What is the underlying aim or desire which is driving you to say the things that you say and act in the manner in which you act? This is a question that I want to center this video around because I feel it is very important to focus on our intentions and to know what the underlying motivations driving our actions are. If you've ever set a goal in your life and tried to achieve it, you'll know that simply setting that goal and having a conscious intention to reach it isn't enough. And you might ask why? Why can't we just automatically align our actions with our goals? Of course, acting in a manner aligned with your goals is most frequently not the easiest path that you could take. And you could make an argument for we don't act in accordance with our goals because we want to avoid difficulty. We need to have enough faith in the benefits of reaching our goals to face difficulty instead of taking the easy way out. And that is true, but I have found that that is not the only reason that we can't align our actions with our goals. And I've found that I have many other hidden intentions. And so I want to discuss my experiences in this area, why I believe that it is important to focus on our intentions, how I have gone about focusing on my intentions more, and the benefits that I have found in doing so, because it has helped me massively on my journey to becoming the best version of myself, and I really hope that the same could be true for some of you watching. So when I read 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, I was first introduced to these ideas. In his 8th rule, tell the truth or at least don't lie, he talks about how he divided himself into 2 parts, one which acts and one which pays attention and judges. And you might ask, why in the world would you need to do that? And the answer to that is because we are not in complete control of ourselves, because we do not know ourselves as well as we might think, and our intentions do seem to be concealed from our conscious minds. And so, after reading this, I decided to do the same, and I didn't believe that my intentions would be as reprehensible as they were. I wasn't aware of my evil dispositions. I was incredibly surprised and a little disturbed to find that practically everything I said was an attempt to gain status or to inflate my ego and influence how others saw me, to please others and not reveal the truth of my beliefs in order to not cause an argument. And when I was in an argument, I didn't care about the truth. I had no desire to learn from the person that I was talking to. All I wanted to do was win, regardless of whether or not I realized that I was wrong or not. Basically, everything that I said was a lie. And the thing is, I wasn't a terrible person back then, a year or 2 ago, when I first read 12 Rules for Life. I wasn't a person who was intent on manipulating people for his own personal gain, someone who avoided difficult conversations consciously, or someone who had no conception of a higher principle which integrated his future self and those around him. I wasn't an uncivilized psychopath. I was perhaps, just like some of you watching, a good person. And so it was quite disturbing to find out that most of the things that I said indicated that I wasn't such a good person after all. But I was truly a liar and a coward. I was directly and clearly contributing to the evils of this world through my ignorance and blindness to the intentions which were underlying my words. Even now, when my conscious self is actively trying to focus on my intentions, when I am so much more conscious of the fact that lying gets us nowhere, and I think that I have faith in truth, I still catch myself telling little lies to inflate how others perceive me, or I lie about how I think in order to avoid an argument with someone which might be difficult and in which I might run the risk of being proved wrong. But I do truly believe that my conscious awareness of the fact that some of my intentions are unconscious has helped me massively to improve. I am far from perfect, however, and just having a conscious awareness of the fact that my intentions can sometimes be reprehensible doesn't change the fact that my intentions are sometimes reprehensible. although it has helped me massively. And I think this is because I have correctly diagnosed the problem. So a lot of people will associate all of the evils of the world with external things. I discussed this in my recent video called "The Line Dividing Good and Evil Cuts Through the Heart of Every Human Being." It was a lesson that I learned from Peterson, who so brilliantly explained the idea that every single human being has evil dispositions and that there aren't truly any good people and bad people, and we can't just separate the bad people from the good people in order to have a prosperous and productive society. If you want to view that video, you can click the pop-up banner here. But anyway, I think that this is the correct diagnosis of the problem. I've realized that there is a problem with the manner in which I act, and all of the issues in my life do not originate from external things. And so I do feel that there's huge value in the things that I'm putting forward in this video. So in order to highlight what I'm talking about here and to make it more concrete and easier to understand and less abstract, I'll give you an example from when I wasn't so conscious of these underlying intentions. When I was around 14 or 15 years old, I had just been turned down by a girl that I had liked for a long time. Now, I had asked this girl if she wanted to go to the cinema with me, and she said no. This was during the summer, and after that summer, I was talking with a friend about what happened, and me and this friend had discussed the situation before summer as well, and he thought that I had much more of a chance with her than I actually did, and this was because of my prideful insisting and due to me bumming myself up. Anyways, even though I had been flat rejected, this wasn't enough to bring my pride down. So when I was talking to this friend after the summer, I told him that she had said yes to the date in the cinema, but that she thought that we were just going as friends. I think I added that last part when I realized that there was absolutely no way that I was going to be able to maintain this lie, given that the girl went to my school and so did the friend. But at the time, it never occurred to me that the only thing that I was trying to do with that lie was to gain status and impress my friend. I was trying to inflate how he saw me. But those facts just never crossed my mind. And I have many more examples in my head just like this. But if you had went up to me as a 15-year-old and told me that everything that you're doing is a lie to gain status and impress people, I might have came to a realization, but I definitely did not possess that knowledge consciously. It was some kind of unconscious motivation that was telling me that I should lie to gain status or to impress others. This to me demonstrates clearly that we need to pay more attention to what we are up to. Many people go through life without thinking about this type of thing, and it is a major corrupting force in my eyes. It seems to me that this all comes down to willful blindness. So in the example that I gave, it was easier for me to lie to myself and not accept the responsibility to go looking for a reason as to why I just got rejected. Again, this isn't something that I was consciously aware of, but that doesn't mean that I don't have the responsibility to find it out. I was willfully ignoring the fact that I just got rejected, and that must mean that I was insufficient in some manner, that that girl did not think that I was suitable as a partner. We all choose to ignore and look away when something is difficult. Just because you didn't know about something does not mean that you didn't have the opportunity to find it out. I chose not to confront the fact that I didn't have the requisite qualities in the eyes of this girl to be a suitable boyfriend, because doing so would be instantly painful and difficult, and it would require a voluntary sacrifice. It would require me to change something about myself that maybe I liked, but it was violating my goal of being attractive to women. I instead thought it better to not assume the responsibility to discover what was going wrong for a long time, and it led me to some dark and resentful places. The problem lay with women and not me. I was not insufficient because I had refused to go looking for a reason as to why I was insufficient. I also damaged the relationship that I had with my friend. Whether it was consciously or unconsciously, he definitely trusted me less and valued me less as a person. He seen me as lower status, which was exactly the opposite of what I had wanted initially. So, unconsciously, different desires possess us and influence our words and our actions. And even though we might not know about this fact, it is our responsibility to find it out, because if we don't, the world will become more intolerable and insufferable for us and others in the future. Although it is hard to look inside ourselves and to discard parts of our personality, although it requires sacrifice and it is incredibly difficult, the alternative is much, much worse. If we continue to believe that everything is conscious, that the unconscious isn't real, that we know exactly what our intentions are and remain willfully blind, how can we not conclude that the world is inherently evil and unjust? Let me explain what I mean. So, if we don't accept the fact that we have a shadow self, if we don't accept the fact that our unconscious is real, it doesn't just go away, it will still remain a phenomenon. And so, if its influence remains unchecked, if we do not incorporate it into the order of our lives, if we do not subdue and name it as Adam is called to do in the book of Genesis, then we are going to associate its influence with external things. We're going to associate its influence with the world. And the majority of the time, those unconscious influences do not result in good outcomes. And so we will conclude that the world is inherently evil and unjust, because even though our conscious selves have been trying to be better, we haven't gotten the results that we wanted. That type of mindset will only want to make the world worse. It will only bring more suffering and evil into the world, because it believes that there is no justice in the universe by its very nature. So, how do we actually go about examining the unconscious influences in our lives? How do we actually focus on our intentions? Now, this is something I've been trying to do for a very, very long time, and it is truly very difficult. It's something that requires serious time and effort, and it's honestly a lifelong struggle. It's not something that you can complete. And I actually think that this is a good thing. There's a quote from a psychologist called Dr. Arthur Brooks, which goes, "Woe be unto the man whose dreams come true, because that man will realize that he had the wrong dreams." This is associated with the arrival fallacy. So if you reach a goal, you become hopeless and directionless. So what you truly want is a sequence of expanding goals which has no upper limit. Anyway, although it's difficult and you can't necessarily complete it, I don't think that that's a bad thing, because to me it just indicates that it's a valuable goal. So how do we actually go about reaching that goal? Well, I began by doing what Peterson suggested. I separated myself into two people, one who acts and one who pays attention and judges. I would do this in retrospect and try to determine what the intentions that were underlying my actions were. As I referred to earlier, a lot of the things that I said were lies, which attempted to inflate my ego or influence how others perceived me, or to avoid difficult conversations and arguments. Truly reprehensible things. I then developed a practical strategy, which I still carry out to this day, which has helped me massively to focus on my intentions more and to align my intentions with my true goals in life. So every night, I will write down 3 things that were good or that went well, and I'll try to identify the intentions that I had when I was carrying out those actions. And then I will do the same with 3 things that could have went better or that were clearly associated with misaligned intentions. By identifying these things every night, I'm able to build up a clearer picture of what it is I need to do, what it is I need to change, and it makes me more aware in the present moment. I have found it very difficult to be present enough, moment to moment, to think about my intentions, and therefore writing about it on a daily basis has helped to concretize it. And to me, it's a much more effective strategy than attempting to focus on your intentions in every moment. You can't forcefully will this into being. We know that we, our rational selves, are not in full control of our actions, because if we were, we would just get up and do the things that are aligned with our goals, and we would never be lazy or procrastinate or any of these things. Our instincts and our emotions and our desires and other unconscious influences are at work, and therefore our rational selves are not the overall master. The ability to integrate all of these things, to understand them and put them in their proper place, is above reason. Although reason is a massive help, it isn't reason alone that allows us to do our very best. Sometimes things go well for us and sometimes they go wrong, no matter how rational we are being. So there must be something else that is making things go wrong, and not just our lack of reason. So how do we try and make things go well more often? I genuinely believe that prayer is how we can do this. I know that in classic religious traditions, you pray for something and then it is granted to you. And this seems like something worthy of ridicule. It seems like it's just some genie in the sky who hands out wish fulfillments. But that is not what it is suggesting. It is much deeper than that. As we have established, things can go wrong no matter how reasonable we are. Our ability to integrate our personality into a whole, to have our instincts and our unconscious working for us rather than against us, is outside of our conscious control. It depends on something more. You might say, well, it's just random, and you have every right to believe that. But assuming that it is random is not going to help us at all. How about this as an alternative? And this is an alternative that has helped me massively to focus on my intentions. How about we say that it depends on God? How about we say that if our goal is to be the best version of ourselves and to have the best possible impact on the world and those around us, and we genuinely seek how to do that and accept that we don't know how, God will answer us. This is what prayer truly is. And this is another way in which I've been able to speak more truthfully and be intent on bringing into being what is good more often. The main benefit which springs to mind first is the quality of the conversations that I can now have, given that I have realized that focusing on my intentions is important. So when I have been particularly attentive to my intentions when speaking, when I have focused on the truth in dialogue, on what is best for me and everyone in that conversation and everyone else around me for the longest time span possible, when I've focused on that, when I've realized that I don't know exactly what would be best for everyone, and I'm therefore open to new perspectives and ideas surrounding that, when I haven't cared about my pride and I've put my pride aside, my desire to win an argument, and all I care about in that conversation is truth, I have had the most meaningful, enlightening, and enjoyable conversations of my life. I learned so much about myself, about the other people in the conversation, and about the world that is of extreme utility. You talk about real things with people, you test your ideas, and you grow as a person. And on top of that, on top of all the learning and growing that you're doing, you're enjoying it as well. And you're enjoying it even more than you would be if you were stroking your ego and attempting to inflate how others see you. I kid you not, I had the feeling of a potent high in conversation. It was that enjoyable. Why don't we come back to the idea of winning an argument. So you win an argument, you leave the person you're talking with defeated, a loser, you've proved them wrong. Well, wouldn't it be a bigger win if you both were able to understand the world a little better, to understand each other a little better, rather than coming out of that conversation with the same knowledge that you had before and having gained nothing? Wouldn't it be a bigger win if you both were winners? Assuming that the other person knows something I don't has led to the best conversations that I've ever had. Focusing on your intentions more also curbs that resentment for the world that we are all culpable of. Instead of focusing on the problems of the world, you realize that you have some pretty reprehensible problems too. You might ask, how is that a benefit? Well, for one thing, not focusing on the terrible problems of the world, which are outside of your control, helps massively with one's mental state. And for another, focusing on things that you can change, such as your underlying motivations and intentions, whilst painful at the beginning, is incredibly rewarding because you make progress towards a valued goal. That, apart from fulfillment of our primal desires, is the main way in which we get positive emotion. How is that for a benefit? You get more positive emotion. How about you improve and you exert a more positive influence on the people around you, and you have more optimism for the future as a consequence? That is all I have for you in this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope that it has benefited you in some way, as it would have benefited me a few years ago. So thank you very much for watching, and God bless.